Hello, thank you guys so much for coming to this video today. I really appreciate it. This is the Cardano Aura podcast. We bring those that are valuable in the Cardano ecosystem on the podcast to learn from them and learn what they're building, because those that build in this ecosystem usually have the best knowledge, about the upcoming hard forks, about the future of Cardano. And today I actually have Steven. He's the founder of VyFinance. This is our third podcast get together. How are you doing today, Steven?
I'm fantastic. Pay, and yourself?
I'm doing wonderful, and we've got something special for you today. On screen, you can see it right now. We've got a VyFinance purple NFT. The floor right now is 640, so you actually have the chance, if you stay till the end of this video, we're going to give you details on how you can actually enter the giveaway for a 640 ADA NFT, so very exciting there. Very briefly, for those that haven't watched our previous podcast, what is VyFinance?
Absolutely. So VyFinance is an upcoming DeFi ecosystem on Cardano. We're building a DEX, which is going to be integrated with what we call the bar, which is a distributive mechanism to share fees that are generated from our DEX to the holders of our token. And we're then building an auto harvester, which will essentially be an AI that manages liquidity farming on behalf of users, so that users who don't necessarily have the skills to manage those liquidity farms themselves and to manage the risk that's involved are able to get a tool that allows them to still engage in an easy manner.
Yeah, that's awesome. One issue that I run into when I introduce people to crypto is, all of the applications that they have to use. Is one of your focuses increasing the accessibility for new users because they don't have to harvest and they, essentially have one portfolio of assets that they can put their ADA into?
That's exactly it. I couldn't have described it better myself. So the way that we want to be distinguishing our risks for the users is, rather than having to manage an individual token's, it's called impermanent risk when you're dealing with liquidity pools. I won't go too in depth into it. It's basically that you can hold more or less of a token depending on how much that token is worth at a given point in time. And if you've supplied lots of tokens to decentralized finance protocols and those tokens start moving rapidly, you can start to see that the amount of each token that you're holding changes, which changes the value of your portfolio. So that risk is called impermanent risk. And we're essentially building a system to automatically manage impermanent risk on behalf of the user based on the risk that they're willing to take on. So if you want a low-risk portfolio, we will have a pre-made low-risk portfolio. You want a high-risk portfolio, we'll have a high-risk degenning portfolio. You want a stablecoin portfolio, we'll hold a stablecoin portfolio. And that will allow the users to not even have to think too heavily, just pick what risk level they want, and they can begin engaging with the ecosystem.
Awesome. So what DEXs are people going to, be allowed to interact with? Is it going to be solely a VyFinance DEX, or is it, DEXs that people have heard of, say Sunday Swap, Min Swap, Wing Riders?
Absolutely. So part of any, I would say, good risk management system is diversification. Excuse me. So even if, it is tempting to, not tempting, that's the wrong words. It sounds like it's a good idea to put your money that you're accruing through your investors into your own platform. That's what, from a business perspective, seems like is the most obvious thing to do. But if you do that, then you're holding all of their risk on your platform. Now, whilst I certainly believe our platform is safe, and I believe that it will be safe into the future, we can't know what the future holds. And to ensure that you're managing risk correctly, you should be distributing across multiple platforms so that you don't have one single point of failure. That's just basic investment management principles, right?
Yeah.
Now, within that, we want to be using most of the major DEXs that have been audited and are trustworthy. So MinSwap, Wing Riders, once they're fully audited and trustworthy, which will be fairly soon, right? We'll certainly be engaging with that DEX there. We'll be looking at DEXs that are coming up in the future, and also lending protocols such as Meld, Liquid, because we want to ensure that we do have a diversified portfolio and that we're accessing yields from more than just one source.
Yeah. And on top of diversifying risk, it's really important to diversify rewards as well, because, sometimes on Sunday Swap, it'll be 30%, whereas on Min Swap, it's 200, so it's important to use these different DEXs because the APR doesn't always line up, especially, attached to the risk. So
that's it. And just briefly, that's when you do, you use that fact to distribute it appropriately. So if Sunday's paying twice as much or Sunday, as an example, is paying twice as much as Min, you'd put 3/4 in Sunday and 1/4 in Min to hedge out that risk a little bit. That way you're accessing most of the larger rewards, but you don't have all your eggs in the one basket.
Yeah, of course. And, That's not the only, product that you guys are going to offer. Currently, you guys have a lot more on your site as well. You guys have a governance tab. You have, an NFT sale coming up, which we'll get into in a little bit. And you also have vaults. Can you tell us a little bit more about, the token vault feature?
Absolutely. So token vaults is essentially a mixture of a launch pad and a reward system. So we do have some IFOs, which are initial farm offerings, which are projects that have never released their token before and want to get their token out to their community. We also have a Twitter space that we invite those projects on to come and talk to our community about what they're doing each fortnight, sorry. And then we have established tokens and established projects that also come on board to expand their communities to try and get their token out to new people, and also because a lot of them hold VyFi as well. We did have one project in particular that were like, oh, if I have VyFi token and I can farm our token through VyFi, I can finally get some more of our token. I'm not going to name any names, but that was a very funny conversation.
That is funny. You mentioned that it's also, a launch pad. What are some of the projects that have launched on here that you're most excited about?
I would say the one that we held that has just launched now, I don't think their vault is closed yet, was Kirkstone. Kirkstone's an incredibly exciting project. They're looking to build essentially a real estate trust on the blockchain, whereby users are able to use their token to purchase, to pay for rent, and they manage properties and allow users to have discounted rental costs through using the blockchain. Similarly, they want to be expanding that into an Airbnb type structure down the line, where users are able to leverage the blockchain to be able to make a more efficient payer-to-payer system for Airbnb, rather than having that giant Airbnb in the middle that takes 15% from the renter and 15% from the customer.
Yeah, that is very exciting. So in your governance tab, is that strictly for VyFi Governance, or do you think that you'll
That's
also...
VyFi Governance.
Okay.
And actually, we're just about to release a big upgrade to our VyFi Governance right now, because we've just been working with MinSwap to be able to integrate all the people that are holding liquidity in the VyFi ADA liquidity pool on MinSwap. So now those users are also going to be able to vote, and we're coming out with a good 3 or 4 new governance votes, including we're redoing an old one, because now we can include the people that it impacts the most, which are the MinSwap, whether we should swap some MinSwap token for VyFi. So that one should be coming out in the next week once we finish testing out the process with MinSwap. So that's been about 2 weeks work, 3 weeks work, or more. It's been about a month and a half's work. Yeah. Hooking up with them and getting ourselves linked to all their systems, so we can basically at any point in time be tracking what wallets hold how much VyFi in the liquidity pool.
So users that provide, ADA and VyFi as liquidity will still be able to use their VyFi tokens to vote.
Correct.
Is there any incentive for voting on VyFi proposals?
No, there's no incentive for voting at the moment, other than the fact that you get to have your say in issues that may impact your investment. Down the line, we will certainly be looking at ways to incentivize, but at the same time, a little bit... I don't necessarily agree in incentivizing people to vote using the governance token itself, because to me that just seems like robbing Peter to pay Paul. That doesn't just seem like, that's just giving your users more of your own currency, which deflates it. I generally try to avoid deflationary tactics to push a product.
That's fair. So, you guys have also done a few different NFTs. One of the ones that we're giving away today is the NFT Purple. You guys also have another, sale coming tomorrow, the VyFi NFT White sale. What is that NFT? What does it do? And, how is it unique?
Yeah, absolutely. So that NFT White is essentially a lower point of cost entry of our Purple NFT to allow users to engage with our NFT farming. So we've got a few exclusive white vaults that are going to be launching at the same time. This will probably come out. When is this being launched? Will this be
Friday?
More than 24 hours? Friday, perfect. So it'll already be out. So at the moment, it looks as if we're certainly going to be launching with a Kirkstone. We're going to be launching with a Log vault. We're going to be launching with a new VyFi vault, of course, for the whites, and also extending our current Purple. And we're looking to have either Meld or Goats Tribes, maybe both. We'll find out when it happens. But you guys will know by the time this is launched. And then users are going to be able to stake those NFTs to earn the rewards that are given. The APRs at the moment are looking around the 20 to 30% mark.
So users can actually purchase these NFTs. Once they purchase the NFT, they can stake it into a contract and then earn different tokens. You mentioned one of those is the VyFi token, also the Kirk token as well. So users essentially, once they have the NFT, they take it and then they select what staking contract they would like to be a part of, and then they'll earn that respective token.
That's exactly it. So it's very similar to a launch pad, that's being run, or launchpad, or a staking pool, or a staking mechanism that's being run through an NFT. And that NFT delivers, for the life of our platform, there's going to be staking pools for those NFTs. So, yeah, it's essentially, ideally, and it will be in the terms and conditions, that lifelong does mean for the life of the company, not forever immemorial. But we had the intention for the period of the life of this company, that will be being delivered farms, and we'll be using that as a launchpad. So newer tokens, particularly once we get farming out on our decks, we want to be moving a lot of those newer tokens that we're also releasing through our token vaults, and moving that to much more focused on our NFTs, and our token is going to be far more focused on the bar.
So what's in it for, Meld or Kirk, to be a part of these farms?
Yeah, it's particularly the very NFT focused projects. What's in it for them is very much a case of they get their word out, or their product out, and people who are very interested in NFTs are going to be coming and having a look at that. Right. In the circumstance of someone like Goat Stripes, or we have had a few NFT projects, C4S, which is a Cardano racing game, they want to be focusing their market towards people that are interested in NFTs. Our gold, purple, and white NFT holders are already dedicated NFT holders that are going to become interested in projects. And when they see NFTs, we already know that they're not hesitant to purchase an NFT. So in that regard, you're able to get a more dedicated audience for the product that you're trying to release, rather than doing it through tokens, which are more focused on the token market.
Yeah, that makes sense. Users, token distribution, ad space, essentially. You guys are also doing you have a Project Catalyst proposal. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw, essentially, building on Cardano is very expensive, and this is our first time attempting a Catalyst. We thought we would like to be we want to get more involved in the community in that regard, right? Rather than seeking out VC funds and trying to get private investment where we have to dump a lot of our token. We've been around in the community for 1.5 years, 2 years now. We're a fairly well-known project. We've got a fairly large following. We want to be able to leverage the Cardano community and be able to get funds without damaging the actual holders of our token, which is what, to me, VC funds do. They don't necessarily do it instantaneously, but at some point in time, it's going to happen.
They will, yeah.
So we released our Catalyst proposal to complete our bar and our decks, and that's got the full timeline and costings of everything we're going to do for our bar and our decks, and goes quite in depth as to how the integration is a unique product, and how it's going to be trying to deal with the issue of infinitely minting a token to provide rewards. And that's where our big philosophy to the DEX that we're constructing comes from, right? We see a lot of DEXs in the current environment that will just mint their token, and they don't have any kind of layer that supports the value of their token whilst it's being minted. What we want to be able to do is build a sustainable DEX, so to speak, whereby if a token's being minted, it's being counterbalanced by a token that's being bought back through fees that are generated in our ecosystem, whether that be from our NFT royalties, whether that be from our I've forgotten the word now, from our farms, swaps on our DEX, which are collecting fees, whether that be from our auto harvester down the line, which will be sending the fees through to the bar. All these mechanisms are supporting the value of that token that's being minted. Thereby, we're aiming to reach a point where we're in balance, where the amount that's being minted matches the amount that's being bought, or ideally, the amount that's being minted is less than the amount that's being bought, in which case we would actually have an inflation to our token rather than a deflation.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, specifically, not using VCs to, eventually dump the token in the future. And that's one of the most beautiful things about Cardano, in my opinion, is this idea of, a fair token launch and actually being able to use the, decentralized treasury to fund out your applications. How much are you guys asking for out of project?
I believe we're asking for one of the biggest in Cardano's history. It's about 1.6 million, but it's about 15% of the total fund that's being offered.
Yeah,
now that is
8 million in this one.
Yeah, that is the cost of development.
It is.
That's not saying that we're not funded, but I mean, when we saw such a large fund, and this is our first ever Catalyst proposal, we thought, let's go for the cost of development. Why? Then we can spend the rest of it on marketing and actually building, our community and building out as good a experience for our user base as possible. In future, if this one doesn't get approved, we're going to be splitting it up into smaller, more manageable bites and just going for smaller bits at a time. But this is our first ever attempt at a Catalyst, and you learn the lessons as you do them. But we do hope that we can get the support and we can get out as much of that as possible in this catalyst, because that means that we're going to be able to look, essentially, it's not a secret, is it? The more money you have to build something, the better that something is.
Yeah, up until a certain point. But,
up until a certain point.
The million's not there yet. Usually when you get, maybe 50 million, you start running into the Tron scenario where you raise 3 billion and don't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you there. There is up to a certain point. But as you know, from a developer perspective, one of the assessors even read out. One of the assessors even did the numbers. It looks like a very big number, but when you look at the hours that we have for development versus the size of our development team, it comes out to an average of about $80 an hour per developer, which is the cost of development pretty much anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. I wish it didn't take that many hours to develop new technology, but welcome to the world of new technology.
And welcome to Cardano. You got extended UTXO, you got an entirely new contract, so there's a lot more development that needs to be done without all of the existing tooling that's, on a blockchain like ETH, for example.
Absolutely. That's it.
So moving forward, how does VyFi differ from, say, Genius Yield?
In a few ways. Look, let's start with the AI model. They haven't confirmed what artificial intelligence model they're using. We're fairly certain we're going to be using a neural net. So we've determined our AI model that we're going to be using. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. That's many videos of me talking about that. I even spoke about it at a few conferences that we have up on YouTube. If you want to see those, just go to the VyFi YouTube channel. And we've got essentially the biggest, because we are partnered with Genius Yield, right? What our job is as an auto harvester is fairly similar, right? They're going to have different investments to what we have because we're going to have different systems that are going to be putting money in different places. So the returns will be different. The risk levels will be different. I don't know what will be what yet because they're not built and we can't really compare, right? They've got a different back end in the way that they're functioning, but we want to be looking fairly similar to the front end for a user. But rather than competing against each other, we both realized that it makes a lot more sense to have two hedge fund type instruments on the blockchain than one hedge fund type instrument. And using each other's platforms, we can actually use each other's platforms to lay off risk, right? So give users on our platform a little bit of Genius Yield risk. They give users on their platform a little bit of VyFi risk. And that way we can actually get a better performance together than we would just having one single system working on the blockchain. I guess what's our major difference? Our model. Does that make much sense to most people? Not really. But it is a very big fundamental difference.
Yeah. So, let's say, when you guys actually release the DEX and, people are able to actually use these financial instruments, what is next? Let's say on a 2 to 3 year timeline.
Yeah, our entire focus is to be building out as many income streams to the bar as possible. So we want to be making sure that we can continue supplying as much upwards pressure to our token through our distributive mechanism to be offsetting the minting of our token on our DEX. So that means we want to be expanding the likes of our hedge fund, and from there it becomes a job of management because all funds require management. That's how it works. And it's about ensuring that we can get as many people aware of the existence of our product so that we can be bolstering as much as possible the amount of funds that are being delivered through to our bar. Now, part of that is further down the line. I don't know if it's 2-3 years, probably more 4 years or so. We want to be creating a fiat on-ramp for users to be able to access our auto harvester through an app on their phone. That way, they're actually going to be able to just put in micropayments, $20 at a time, $30 at a time, and access an auto harvester on the blockchain without having to think about cryptocurrency. Now, we think if we can get a system like that for the average everyday user who doesn't use cryptocurrency to be able to engage, that will give us a very big bolstering to our actual distributive mechanism for our token, giving a lot more support to our token in the long run. That's going to be the next phase once we finish our auto harvester on the blockchain. We want to then give it the fiat on-ramp.
Are you guys integrated with, say, Eternal Wallet and the dApp store? Or are you integrated with Lace, when Lace has that ability as well? Because to me, that's a good way to give accessibility to mobile users, considering Eternal is already on the phone.
Yes, we certainly do have access to Eternal Wallet. We have Lint Wallet, we have Nami, We've got about 6 wallets that you can connect to on our site, or four to 6 wallets that you can connect to on our site, and Eternal is certainly one of them.
Okay. And, have you used the actual Eternal dApp store? Are you guys integrated with that as well, or is that something that's
we haven't used the Eternal dApp store, actually. I'm going to ask you to send me a link to that after this so we can get on that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I think it would be great for you guys to be on there because, when you have Eternal on your phone, you can't connect it with Brave or Chrome, whereas, the actual internal dApp store on Eternal, you can be on your phone, click the dApp store, and do a swap on JPEG or, maybe provide a purple NFT all from your phone. So I think that would be pretty cool for, accessibility.
That does sound really cool. I'm going to definitely hit up Eternal about that next week, particularly with the NFT at the moment and the token staking. That sounds like it'd be really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
What has your experience been with, the Vasil Hard Fork? There's a lot of new changes coming to Cardano. There's a lot of utility being added. One, what is your experience? And then I'll ask another question after that.
So far, the experience has been pretty good. The IOHK have been very open and communicative with the projects that are building. They released it to the testnet, I want to say 3 weeks ago. Might have been like 3.5 weeks ago.
I think it was 3.
Yeah, 3. I remember we were in a big group call with a lot of projects, probably about 30 projects with a few IOHK representatives, like an hour before it was released, and they were really, really excited.
That sounds like a pretty cool phone call.
Yeah, it was. And then they've essentially been listening to us with the issues that we've been having, and that's part of the reason why Vasil has been delayed a little. It's because projects have been saying, oh, this is turning out to be a little bit tougher than we expected, which is fine. It's all just a learning experience, right? We have to learn how to integrate it. It just didn't plop in the exact way that we expected, I guess you'd say. At least that's how it's happened for VyFi. I'm sure every project's had their own experience, but that does seem to be a common thread amongst the projects as I've been hearing them speaking. But it's all going along fairly well. It's mostly just a matter of debugging now, and we've spent the last sort of 3 days just debugging. We were all ready to release our NFT. We were all ready to release a new form of our NFT smart contracts and the Token Vault smart contracts, all good to go. And then now that Vasil's on testnet, it's been 3-4 days. The last 3-4 days just debugging.
You and many other projects, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. So it's all part of the fun.
Yeah. So, with the Vasil Hard Fork, a lot of those, CIPs, the Cardano improvement proposals, they actually came from the Cardano DeFi Alliance specifically. For Vyfinance, what utility is being added with the Vasil Hard Fork that's actually going to improve the user utility of your product?
Mm-hmm. So, I think the biggest one is going to be the capacity to receive multiple requests at once. Right, so at the moment, there is a bit of a slowdown, and we can get a backlog where we have to be sending out things one at a time. And it sometimes functions fairly slowly. And sometimes we can get a backlog on, withdrawing NFTs, because the NFTs are a countdown. When the countdown ends, we suddenly get a burst of, 100 people going to withdraw their NFT at once. And that can take, 20, 30 minutes, which is fine. No one's losing anything. But it is nicer from a user perspective if that just happens. Right, that's what you want. You don't want people to be waiting. Yeah. So the easeability of use in that regard, I think, is going to be greatly upgraded with the release of Vasil.
Awesome.
Now, another thing that Vasil is bringing is a bunch of little back-end improvements that we think is going to be making it a lot easier to handle data, essentially, on the back end. And improved data handling means that you have reduced code size, which means that you've got reduced transaction fees. So this one probably won't be immediate, but in the sort of the next few months, I imagine that we'll be able to sort of work back that transaction fee that we're receiving for using smart contracts. A little, not drastically, but a little is good.
Yeah, and with that transaction size being lower, that also means more transactions can fit in a block. Because
that's it.
The more data, the more you're paying for transactions, and the less that can fit in the block there.
That's it.
So you guys are coming to the Rare Bloom. Do you have anything exciting that you're going to release at the Rare Bloom? Are you excited for the event itself?
I'm so excited for the event. I actually just booked my accommodation 3 days ago, I want to say, maybe 4 days ago.
I still haven't booked mine yet.
Haven't booked yours. You need to get on it, man. They're selling out.
I know. It's like, am I going to go?
I don't know if I'm going to make it or not.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny because my PA, it's my stepbrother who is also the person that helps me with managing all of my appointments and managing everything that I have to do on a day-to-day basis, which who would have thought a CEO has to do a lot? Right? And basically he bought he's coming at our booth. He's going to be at our booth. I think we've got 5 or 6 people at our booth. And he booked his, a month ago? And he told me that when he booked his, they were already sold out every day around the event. So I think some people are going to be staying there for a few days extra on either side, or maybe there's some other events. I don't know, but all I know is I shat myself and booked.
Yeah.
Get on that.
Yeah, you definitely have to, because there's a bunch of events happening like before and after. They're not crypto events, but that's really what's filling up the hotel, and we've blocked out a good amount for Cardano, people. However, the days before and the days after are looking pretty rough. You might have to stay in like a motel somewhere nearby.
The airport in. Well, it is near the airport.
It is. Yeah. Fortunately, it's only 15 minutes away from the closest international airport. And for anyone that hasn't heard, we booked Charles Hoskinson. We're going to have him there. We've got 40 plus Cardano projects. Really nothing like this has ever happened for Cardano, and it couldn't have happened the year before without Alonzo and without all of these projects actually, building. So
it's going to be so exciting. I'm actually excited both to meet the community and to meet a lot of the other projects in person. One big thing, and I'm sure you felt this as well, I've met quite a few projects. I've met you in person, going to conferences in Miami, going to conferences in Paris, talking about our project and meeting the community in general. But it's always been a little bit of Cardano and then a lot of the wider crypto community. That it's great because there's a lot of people to sell Cardano to and to introduce them to what we're doing. But at the same time, it's going to be lovely to just be able to meet focused on the projects that we're actually working with and the projects that are going for the same goals that we are and that we're working with on a day-to-day basis to make this real.
Yeah. I got a little taste of it in Wyoming. The only issue with the Cardano Summit last year is that there were events all over the world, so we were all split up everywhere, and it still was amazing though, actually getting to meet people that, are knowledgeable about what we're interested in and being able to learn from them. Whereas, as you mentioned, with the Bitcoin conference and many of the other wider blockchain conferences, it's less about learning and more about educating other people on the chain. Whereas this is going to be, a bit of both.
Learning off each other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is which is amazing.
And I am going to be there myself. I'm so sad I missed Wyoming last year. I didn't even manage to get to a local Cardano meetup because I'm in rural Italy, and rural Italy did not have a Cardano meetup.
Did Italy have one?
Yeah, they had one. No, not that I actually know of. We're actually trying to get a Cardano meetup in Milan very early next month, which should be a bit of fun. I'm sure we'll make a group about it and ask any Italians that want to swing by to swing on by. But no, at the time there wasn't.
It's awesome. Well, is there anything that we didn't cover in this podcast today? Normally we run pretty long, but we've already done 3, so we've really covered everything Vyfinance has to offer, or Vyfinance.
Yeah, I don't think we specifically missed anything. The upcoming NFT is tomorrow, and we launch tomorrow as of the date that we're filming this, and it will be yesterday is the date that it's released.
Yep.
And I'm really excited for that. Definitely come on in and ask us any questions you have in our Telegram or our Discord about that, and come in and say hi, ask us any questions that you have a look at our website, have a look at our DApp. We were one of the first apps on Cardano. And thank you so much for letting me come and speak to you, Pei. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it is always a pleasure. I'm sure we're going to do it again. And all of those links that he just mentioned to the Discord, to any of the information that you need from VyFi, they're going to be down below. If you guys do want to enter the giveaway, comment purple down below, like the video, subscribe, and then join the Discord server. Once you enter the Discord server, fill out the CAPTCHA, and then there's going to be a giveaway tab. React with a confetti symbol, and voila, you'll be entered to win a 600 ADA NFT. And thank you. Don't thank me for that one. Thanks, Steven, for the gift that we have for us today.
And thanks to everyone in your community for partaking and for listening along.
Well, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a good day. It's Wednesday, so I hope you have a good rest of your week or weekend now that you're watching this. So see you guys. Be safe out there.